Well, hi everyone. I'm John Rutland with a double review of two Netflix original movies that I saw today, two recent releases, Horse Girl and All the Bright Places. Horse Girl was above average with a pretty damn good performance in it, and All the Bright Places was really it was quite goddamn good, but it was by no means a happy movie, but it kind of was happy. But boy, that movie really shocked me by how good it was. It kind of reminds me of dealing with, something like Live Twice, Love Once, and I also reviewed that along with Twin Mirrors, The Silence of the White City. You can check out that double review if you would like. But like any multi-movie reviews that I put up on here, I basically give an overview of like what I thought of them briefly and then get into spoilers. So these are going to be bite-sized chunk reviews and are going to be spoiler filled. That is your warning right there. Do I recommend you watch both of these? Yeah. Netflix has actually gotten a lot better with their original content, and their movies are by no means perfect. They're hit and miss. But these are two worth checking out, especially the second one. However, I'm going to start off with Horse Girls, directed by Jeff Baena, who directed Life After Beth and The Little Hours, and is centered around the character of Sarah, played by Alison Brie from Glow, and has built quite a good track record of film and, series that she has done, and plays her role to perfection. She is a woman that's a little bit socially awkward, means well, is well intentioned, but you can tell there's some stuff beneath the surface, and maybe there's some stuff that might be slightly off about her. It is a drama, mystery, thriller. It does have a lot. It kind of reminds me a bit of like trying to have a Donnie Darko tone about it, where you're not quite sure what you're seeing. It is by no means the same movie as Donnie Darko, but there are similarities for those that have seen both of them. And she works in a fabric store along with her coworker Joan Molly Shannon from SNL fame, and actually in a pretty good role as well. You do get Robin Tunney appearing in a TV show that Sarah's character watches, and she was actually in The Craft. Remember she was the innocent girl in The Craft, and has actually done had a decent career, though Vertical Limit kind of finished that off. But anyway, I kid. How was the movie overall? Well, the character of Sarah, she's the center focus here. Alison Brie does play her really well because she has some, as things go on, she's working her job. She doesn't really get out all that much. She is living with her roommate, Nikki, played by Debbie Ryan, who, they have a bit of a strained relationship, but it's pretty obvious there is something wrong with Sarah, but that she's keeping a hold of reality pretty well. However, that reality starts to slip away. She does end up going out with the best friend of her roommate's boyfriend, and they kind of spark up a romance, and everything's good. But then weird dreams start happening, and Sarah's starting to see people that she's never met before. She's never met these people ever in her life, but then she starts to see them in her reality, like what exactly is going on. The dreams are starting to meld with reality. Is she dreaming, is she awake? There are a lot of things that this movie tries to raise questions with, and tries to have the viewer guessing, like, is this real, is this in her fantasies, is she really crazy, is she not crazy, and are there weird things going on? She does sleepwalk. There are scratches on the walls, and things eventually go tits up, and things kind of get really, really goddamn bad. There is some cool cinematography and some pretty cool atmospheric shots and some good stuff. The problem is that the mystery boils down to, is she crazy or is this stuff real? And really it's left up to interpretation. I think it is more obvious that these are all things in her head. Her family has a history, steeped in mental illness. She looks a lot her grandma, a younger version of her grandma looks exactly like Alison Brie does. So she's like all freaked out. Sarah's all freaked out, like wondering what's going on, and she figures out, or comes up with this crazy idea that there are aliens cloning people, and that she's in different time periods and stuff like that. And her grandma was crazy like this and stuff like that. And I hate to use that word because obviously we all have things that we are dealing with, mental illness and the like. But the way this movie does it, it just makes it where her character just goes full blown, tits up crazy. I mean, that's pretty much what happens. And really just bleeds into her life. And then there is a horse. There is a reason why it's called Horse Girl. She has a horse that she goes and visits, but it's not her horse anymore. It's taking care of on a farm. And you never really get the answer as to why exactly she doesn't have the horse anymore, but it becomes pretty obvious. There's a lot of stuff beneath the surface, and stuff that she's been keeping down, trying to keep hidden, and it all comes out, and she's in a hot. She gets really into these conspiracy theories. She loses everybody around her, like, because she gets so wrapped up in this reality. And what ends up basically happening is she gets the horse at the end and then lays down and ends up getting abducted and taken into the sky. That's pretty much it. There are some weird dreamlike sequences and some where it tries to be all crazy and weird and stuff like that, and dreamlike, and like, oh, we're really gonna hammer the audience here and make the audience wonder, like, wow. No, this movie is just, it's above average. I will say that Alison Brie does add a lot to this. Had she not been as good as she was, this movie would have been not nearly as good as it was. I'm still only going to give it a C plus because overall the movie is good at times, but overall just kind of falls flat to me. I really wasn't feeling it. I know there are some people that like it, and that's good. I just wasn't totally feeling it, though. I will say Alison Brie did play her character well. So C plus, had some good stuff, not perfect. So now let's move on to All the Bright Places. It's based on a novel by Jennifer Nevin, who I've not read the book. I had no idea this is based on a book. It is directed by Brett Haley, who directed Hearts Beat Loud, which I've been meaning to see. I haven't seen it yet, but I did hear it was quite good. And this is centered around the characters of Violet, played by Elle Fanning, and Theodore, played by Justice Smith. And they are two, young people that basically come together due to, through like sad circumstances, I guess really would be the best way, because it starts off with Violet staying on a bridge, and you don't know why. She's staying on the ledge of a bridge. She's going to jump, possibly. Theodore's out running, and he sees her, and is like, hey, I go to school with you. They go to school together. So he's like, hey, he basically saves her. He saves her from doing this. This movie's better off experienced as, just something where it's a really great character study. I will not mix words. I think I love this movie. And the problem is you can see most of what's coming, and that's kind of what makes it so good, and you kind of make it like, boy, I wish I could change things, but I kind of can't. Both characters have their sad past. Theodore has come from an abusive household, well, at least, his dad was abusive. Him and his sister talk about it in like one particular, good scene at the sister's work. Violet lost her sister in an auto accident on that same bridge. The parents, father played by Luke Wilson, they're trying to help her come to grips with it, but they don't find out until later that Violet had these suicidal thoughts and tendencies. And that's one thing centered around all this, is people that feel depressed, mentally ill, suicidal. This movie got to me more than I expected, and maybe that's because I have those thoughts myself. Do not worry. I'm not trying to look for sympathy or anything. Do not worry. I, like many others that have these thoughts, do what we can, do what I can to make sure that I stay on the best path. I take care of myself. I'm there for the people that I care about. The people there, that care about me are there for me as well. I have a good support system, and I hope any of you that have any thoughts like that, or are experiencing anything like this, have that same support system. And even if we only talk through YouTube, even if we only talk on Twitter, since most of you find these on Twitter, you guys can talk to me. Anyway, back to the review. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that little message out there. You can really see, and that's the sad thing. This has one of the saddest, one of the most obvious, but also one of the most uplifting at the same time endings that you could think of. Yes, there are movies that, that have maybe played around with this a little better, but to me, what drives this are the performances. Elle Fanning, if she is not nominated for at least a Golden Globe for this, I don't really know what we're doing here. And I would say the same with Justice Smith. And I'm not usually a fan of these type of movies. If it's like a teen drama, romance, this kind of stuff. Not necessarily a comedy, though there is a little bit of good dark comedy here. Both characters do have their flaws and everything, and they have friends or, former significant others they're still cool with. And Theodore has his own, he has his way of like helping people because he can't help himself, and that's what it comes down to. They do share a lot of really good dialogue scenes. At first, Violet is very distant, and Theodore gets through to her. She also tries to make sure she gets through to him and helps him, and it's just, The problem is sometimes you can't change some people's minds. That's really what it comes down to. It's very sad, but also uplifting. And it's so strange to say that because I'm not gonna I'm not gonna mix words. This movie made me cry. It's like Live Twice, Love Once. There's only two movies that have made me cry this year, and they were both on Netflix, which is strange. I don't normally cry at movies, but when the subject matter gets to me, it's like anybody. I mean, like, and I don't mind putting that out there because people can make fun of me if they want. I don't care. I'm the one that has my emotions. No one has my emotions but me. If you do, please give me back my emotions. Don't steal them, god damn it. Anyway, I kid. This movie was fabulously done. They do a social experiment where they go to various places and stuff like that. Theodore's very determined, wants to show her a lot of places because her family moved from California. She had this tragedy happen, lost her sister on the sister's birthday, and has been dealing with that since. And then you find out more about Theodore. You find out more about a lot of this, and even though it does have a sad ending, he kills himself at one of the locations they were at, like this lake and stuff like that. He basically drowns himself. It is very sad. It is a fucking gut punch of an ending, or at least, like a revelation. Even though you can see it coming, it still doesn't make it any less impactful. And she's obviously sad about it, but she completes this experiment, this school experiment, and writes the stuff down in this journal and talks about, his name is Theodore Finch, basically for the whole thing. She calls him Finch throughout the movie, and she talks about how she couldn't see what she could see, but she couldn't help him with what he was going through, and she regrets that. I mean, after losing her sister and losing a guy that helped her find love and helped her find acceptance, that's got to be tough for people to deal with. And really, overall, what it is it's just about helping there and being there for the people that you care about, where you've known them for a few months or a few years, all your life. It is really, really sad, but all the bright places, it does live up to it because it does show there is beauty in the world and all this. And yeah, excuse me, it sounds cheesy, it sounds stupid, but that's just how I feel. So that's just my opinion on that. The movie gets an A. Movie's really well performed. The cast all does well. But yeah, Elle Fanning and Justice Smith really lend just so much to this movie. So A, and those are my opinions on that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.